May I come in, sir?
Come in.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Morning,
Have your
ma'am.
seat,
Morning,
Krati.
sir. Thank you, sir.
Comfortable?
Yes, sir.
Krati, your chair has been kept at a distance of 11-12 feet to make it and also let you feel safe of COVID and disease. So you may remove your mask if you wish.
Okay, sir.
Now tell us something about you.
So my name is Krati. I was born and brought up in Jhansi, Uttar Pradesh. And I've done my initial schooling from St. Francis Convent Inter College, Jhansi. Thereafter, I went on to pursue my BTech in Computer Science and Engineering from BIET Jhansi, Bundelkhand Institute of Engineering and Technology. And for the past 5 years, I started an organization named Kalvriksh Welfare Foundation. So I've been heading it. Apart from that, I live with my parents, so I take care of them and partake in the home chores as well.
Okay. So you have studied technology in graduation, but you have taken public administration. Why not computer science?
So computer science as an optional is not available in the format of the examination.
So any closed subject like electrical engineering?
So it was different.
Physics.
Moreover, my interest in public administration was more than electrical engineering. And it seemed to be a rational choice looking at the overlap of the subject from the GS subjects as well. So that's the reason I went for public administration.
Okay. So why it is said, some thinkers have said that in Christian countries, corruption is less because of religious ethos. Which thinker has said?
So religious ethos, I would say almost every religion asks one to be honest. So I won't actually correlate corruption with religious ethos. However, in most Christian countries, which are particularly in the West, corruption is less because of a sense of transparency, and the governance structure is as such that corruption has been less.
So which are the elements of a structure which is a reduced corruption index?
Sir, the accountability and control measures that are present in the government, separation of powers, then the law enforcement is very strict. If you're caught in any of the malpractices, then you're punished. So all of that, even the societal acceptance of corruption is less as compared to India.
So why societal acceptance of corruption in India is greater than that in Christian countries?
The societal acceptance is more because corruption is seen as a huge profit and activity, and the chances of getting caught is less. And due to the chronism in the structure, it is also often noticed that if you're caught, you can get away with it. So that's the reason social acceptance is
So who are the major cronies of the government today?
So there are lobbyists, different lobbyists, and sometimes it's a nexus between bureaucracy, capitalists, and law enforcement agencies. Even allegations of corruption has been in the judiciary as well. So I guess there are good elements and there are bad elements in every institution.
The preamble of the constitution contains socialist as a commitment, and government is liberalizing the whole economy, leading to more and more nexus between bureaucrats, politicians and businessmen. Don't you think this is violation of the constitutional principles?
So I think socialism means that the state will take care of welfare measures. There will be equitable distribution of resources. So I don't think that moving towards capitalism or a mixed sort of economy model that we follow in India, it gives ample space to private sector to flourish, and private sector is not antagonistic to development or welfare. They're partners in the development. So as we are progressing from a developing country towards a developed country, giving more space to private sector is actually a very good thing that we're doing.
Do you think the extension of reservation policy in private sector would lead to more efficiency and competitive strength of corporate sector?
Sir, I am not in favor of extension of reservation in the private sector, because private sector primarily operates on the principles of efficiency, and also it will lead to restricting the talent pool if we bring in reservation on the basis of say caste identities, religious identities, or even regional identities. So I think it will be better for the private sector if they can engage in cutting edge technologies, recruit the best talents of the country. That's why I'll not support reservation in the
So do you think this adoption of reservation policy has led to decline in the efficiency of administrative class in India?
Sir, it hasn't led to the decline in efficiency as such. The purpose of representation through reservation was
Or has
Mainly-
it reduced the talent pool for administrative jobs?
Sir, it has in fact led to more inclusiveness in the talent pool. And
So how do you say that this extension of reservation policy in private sector will lead to decline in the talent pool for private sector?
sir, based on the evidence, as Haryana had promised reservation for the Haryanvis in the private sector, so this will lead to restriction on the pool, because now they're restricted to recruit from Haryana itself. So if a software engineer is better in Karnataka, they'll still have to go for a Haryanvi.
So do you
if
think
they
that
settle
means
in.
region-based reservation may reduce talent pool?
Yes, sir, region-based.
How about caste-based reservation?
So caste-based reservation would lead to more inclusiveness, as well as
And not reduce talent pool?
So I think talent is distributed amongst all classes, religions in India. So I cannot comment on that.
But the cutoff for different castes is very low.
Yes, sir.
And don't you think this is a compromise on talent and merit?
Sir, mostly the cutoff is low because caste-based reservation was brought in to undo the intergenerational differences, the discrimination that has been institutionalized. And that is the reason we are
But that,
giving this nudge.
that description was described under communist history, and now the government is changing that history. Now the new history would suggest that there was no discrimination in past.
So there have been evidences which still suggest that the higher echelons do not have the due representation of certain classes and certain sects of the Indian society. And the reservation is as a nudge to provide these people a chance, more representation in the society.
Okay, Krati. Sir.
Thank you, sir.
So your subject is public administration.
Yes, sir.
I start with what financial management. Look, before COVID-19, a different kind of financial management was there. And after COVID-19 or during COVID-19, there is a change, qualitative, quantitative change in financial management of Government of India as well as several state government. My question is, what qualitative, quantitative change has or have taken place in last 2 years because of pandemic?
So the qualitative changes are, there is more focus on the healthcare sector. Digitization of the economy has taken place even in the sector of financial management. And also we are now taking care of the underprivileged sections as a priority, like the migrant issue that was addressed. Quantitatively, I would say that there was an urgency to invest in the healthcare infrastructure. 50,000 crore was provided to increase the healthcare infrastructure. Even we are going to increase the health expenditure to 2.5% of GDP. That's also aimed. So I think that the government has
What
taken
a special kind of responsibility, accountability have been given to what DM, district magistrate, look, in the name of financial management during pandemic?
So during the pandemic, district magistrates have special responsibilities to manage the skills education of the incoming migrants in some of these states. Apart from that, there were extra responsibilities to manage the healthcare
Just
sector.
related question. What are the special responsibility, accountability have been extended to local self-government, village panchayat, and the what Nagar Nigam, Nagar Palika? What is special things during pandemic and after pandemic? Yes, please.
So during the pandemic, the local self-government entities were given more powers to have more, they can order lockdowns, and they went for the upgradation of the community centers and schools so that distance learning modes can be implemented, quarantine facilities could be done.
Okay, my question is, look, in our constitution, we have multi-level planning. Practically, there must be multi-level planning. But before pandemic, multi-level planning was largely concentrated at a union level and the state level. At district level and local self-government level, there were weak or quite absent among several states. My question is, how pandemic COVID-19 has made the Government of India and state government to practice multi-level planning at district level as well as block level? How?
So prior to the pandemic, the local self-government level had constraints on the funds, functionaries, and the functions devolved to them. However, post the pandemic was very localized in setting, as in different regions had different impacts. The caseload was different. The infrastructure that was developed was different. So we needed to have a local setting and proactive engagement at the cutting edge level. That was the need which prompted the local self-government to...
Since you are a computer engineer and we are using Pragati model for good governance,
Yes.
right? As well as GIS at district level and several level, land information system, environment information system. My question is how computers are being used in day-to-day administration today, starting with Pragati model used by PMO, right?
Yes.
Some state also using Pragati model. Other than that, district level, there is land information system. We have environment information system. All reserve forest, national park, sanctuary having GIS.
Yes, sir.
Where and how computer are used at various level, whatever the things we have considered in discussion. Yes, please.
Sir, IT in particular and technology in general.
Starting with Pragati model.
So
In Pragati model,
yes,
how we
sir.
use computer?
So Pragati model is used to track the different government schemes and devolutions that have taken places, like what all progress has been made. So using the IT, we can actually, as you pointed out, use GIS-based systems. Data can be entered at the place and then it can be monitored from the PMO without the need to visit the place in a distance mode. And apart from that, technology has been
Land
used...
information system. In land information system, that is district level, how we use computer.
So for the monitoring, upgrading of the land revenue system, so that...
Land information system.
Sorry, sir.
That is nothing to do with land revenue. That is related to land records.
Okay, sir. Sorry, sir, I'm not aware of the land information system.
Okay. My last question that's related to your thought, public administration. We have actually several scientific public administration theories. We call it classical theory. One of the theories is dynamic administration. That is very much useful during COVID, given by Mary Parker. How dynamic administrative model is useful to solve COVID pandemic problem?
So the dynamic administration model given by Mary Parker Foley talks about the concept of control with instead of control over, power with instead of power over. So there was cooperation among different levels of government. Apart from that, it talks about the law of the situation, as in situational leadership. The situation will dictate what course to take. So that was also visible during the COVID pandemic.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Kriti, you are a student of public administration.
Yes, sir.
What do you understand by good governance and from where this concept has come?
So, good governance concept emanated from the World Bank report that was published in 1992. And good governance means it's the action part of the government to provide welfare services, liberty, rule of law to the people.
Can you give me the parameters of good governance?
Yes, sir. So there is no formal definition. However, the parameters that have been gaining consensus are rule of law, liberty, freedom of expression, human rights, and equality, equity. So these are the parameters.
To my mind, there are around 8 parameters which are universally considered to be part of this good governance model. Any which ways, what do you understand by theory Z and who has proposed this?
Sir, it was proposed by William Augie, and theory Z was actually a combination of theory X and theory Y in a hybrid organization, which is usually a contemporary organization.
So if you have to choose between theory X, theory Y and theory Z, which theory do you think will be better for Indian bureaucracy?
In the present context, I would choose theory Z because it has some features of theory X and theory Y. As in pandemic, if we take the situation, there were certain situations where some sort of centralization was needed. So here we can go for certain features of theory X.
So some kind of carrot and stick is very much needed, especially in administration. So where would you apply this stick?
So stick, as I pointed out, strict law enforcement. if we have a case of sexual harassment against a woman, their stick needs to be employed.
Fine. You are also a computer engineer. So if we talk about the social media platforms, then why they are being called the gatekeepers? What does this term denote, gatekeepers?
The social media platforms. Sir, I'm not exactly aware of where this word was used, but using my limited knowledge, I can infer something from this. So, may I go ahead?
Yes, yes.
So, social media giants are called as gatekeepers maybe because they are practicing monopoly. They determine who is supposed to say what. They can ban certain accounts. They can take down media.
Okay, are you aware that South Korea has recently come out with a law that is being dubbed as anti-Google law?
Yes.
What is that?
Sir, according to South Korea, Google was having a monopoly, which was basically an antitrust issue, as Google has its own platform of Google Pay, and it directs customers directly to Google Pay, and therefore the commission goes to Google. So this was how the monopoly was taking place, and they've come against
And what do you
that.
understand by this term full stack developer? Who is a full stack developer?
Sorry, sir, I have not dealt with development.
Okay, you come from Bundelkhand.
Yes.
And there has been demand for a separate state of Bundelkhand.
Yes, sir.
My question is like, do you agree with this demand? If a separate state has to be created, why? And if not, then why not?
Sir, coming to the first part of the question, I certainly don't agree with the demand. And coming to the arguments in favor and against, a separate state would be very good if you want to promote the local culture. Somehow it will aid the administrative efficiency as well. However, the con side is that it will lead to a disintegration of the cultural cohesion that's today in place in UP. The interlinking of rivers and the other common resources.
So you feel that Bundelkhand is developing very well, and it doesn't having a separate state will not help it?
Sir, I feel Bundelkhand is not developing well, but having a separate state is not
the
the
right
only
solution.
way.
Okay, it's not the only way. Fine. My final question to you: you are also running an NGO, I suppose.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if you see an NGO, it is working in a particular location on a particular cause for say 15-20 years. What would you infer? Whether the NGO is doing a very good job, or you would take a different look at it?
Sir, in this case, I would need more data, as in I would take a decision based on the evidences. Maybe they did not scale up, but then maybe they had a very widespread approach and had a deep impact in the localized region. And maybe it was a reason for the as a failure that they could not scale up. So it could depend on the settings.
Thank you, Krati.
Thank you, sir.
Krati, you have founded Kalp Vriksh Welfare Foundation.
Yes, sir.
So this is a plan of a particular state government in India. Do you know about it?
No, sir. I'm not aware of the same.
Okay. See, BRICS has come out with a plan to actually sort out the issue in Afghanistan. So, do you think it will be successful in tackling terrorism and other thing in Afghanistan?
Sir, I think Afghanistan today is in a state of flux, and BRICS has important partners like India, China, Brazil, and Russia. However, I think the other partners like US cannot be ignored. So BRICS alone cannot solve the Taliban issue. However, the impact of BRICS would be major, and I'm hopeful that the plan works.
Okay. In the recent past, it has been said by some strategic thinkers that these Russia and China, they are going to be more credible powers in Central Asia and Afghanistan. So you don't agree with this view?
Sir, there is some credibility, as we are seeing there's a developing nexus between Russia, China, and Iran. So in the coming future, they might go in for a larger role. However, I also feel that as in India is also trying to navigate its interests. US is still trying to negotiate with Taliban for its own security interests. So I think it's an interplay of a lot of global factors, not just Russia, China, and they'll not dictate the terms in Central Asia.
Okay. One of the main objectives of BRICS has been to reform the multilateral institutions.
Yes.
Do you think it has been successful in doing so?
No, sir, it has not been successful, as reforming the multilateral systems will need a revamp of the UN Security Council, and an expansion has been overdue. Even WHO and WTO are in this they are in a state of needing reforms right now. So I think they have not been successful. However, the efforts are going on in the right direction.
See, Palestine peace process, it has been in news. So what is India's approach to Palestine peace process?
So India follows a de-hyphenation policy. So it deals differently with Israel and Palestine based on the issues. We have always stood up for the human rights and peace in the region. However, we also have separate strengths when dealing with Israel as well as Palestine.
So it is being said that we might experience a V-shaped economic recovery. What
Yes,
is
sir.
V-shaped economic recovery?
So a V-shaped economic recovery is that during the COVID, there was this huge slump. So the graph went down for the economic indicators, and then slowly it is coming up, with India being one of the strongest emerging economies. And as we saw that the first quarter garnered a growth of 20%. So that is how the V-shaped economy, the graph is again coming up. So that's how a V came up.
Okay, my last question. See, there has been recent initiative related to delegation of financial powers to defense services. So how will it help in India's defense sector?
Sir, I'm not exactly aware of the issue. However, I can say it will definitely bring in more financial autonomy and thus increase the efficiency of the sector. However, we need to rope in experts for dealing with the finances in the defense sector. Thank you.
Krati,
Yes, ma'am.
what's the meaning of your name?
Ma'am, Krati means creation.
Okay. Krati, do you know the legal respite for victim of domestic violence in our country?
Yes, ma'am. There's an act, Domestic Violence Act 2005, and it can be used for respite. It provides for maintenance, separation, and punishment to the person who has inflicted violence on the victim.
Can men avail any respite under this law?
No, ma'am. Unfortunately, it's not gender neutral. So men cannot file a domestic violence case against
Can
women.
you name 2 laws maybe which you think are not gender neutral apart from this one?
Ma'am, I'm not able to recall at the moment.
It's okay. Kriti, you come from Uttar Pradesh. How is minority doing in your state?
Ma'am, the state government is working, without any discrimination. That being said, I would also say that at the practical level, there are certain controversies and certain discriminations and violence going on against the minorities. And Uttar Pradesh has a very polarizing history as well. But then I guess the state is taking its...
If you would be posted as an administrator in Uttar Pradesh, in any district, how would you address this issue of insecurity amongst minority?
I would practice outreach and participation amongst the minority people. And one thing that's often neglected is that minority programs are often limited to the minorities. So taking the majority as an equal stakeholder, that will help in the confidence building. Then celebration of festivals, the languages, all the soft measures that we can take will help.
Krati, what does Kalpriksh do?
As in the organization?
Yes.
Ma'am, we actually take up taboo issues in Bundelkhand. So we are working to spread menstrual awareness. And I go in schools and take up workshops on child sexual abuse. And we also go on plantation drives. And there is an idea that I'm still working. It's not been implemented, so I'm still on it. That the idea of recomposing instead of decomposing. So whenever, say, someone's pet dies and people are very attached to them, and we go for funerals like humans, like burning the body or something
Kriti,
like that.
once you get into administration, what will happen to Kalpriksh? You're doing such a good work there. Why not continue doing that?
Ma'am, Kalvriksh as an organization, it runs on the principle of representation and elections. So every 3 years we hold elections. So if I'm not the president, someone else will be the president. And right now we don't have the permit to operate pan-India, and it's a team of 10 members. So I hope Kalvriksh stays to grow even after I go to services.
Kriti, should women use curse words?
I'm not particularly in favor of using curse words, but I would not see it from a gender angle. Be it men or women, I think it applies to both of them.
Tell me qualities of a good public speaker.
A good public speaker should be able to build a connect. He should be confident. He should use the stories and anecdotes in his life, in his speeches.
She?
He or she, yeah ma'am, both. Thank you for pointing that out. And also, I would say, if you could deliver the message or the purpose with which you were speaking, then that's a good public speech.
Thank you so much, Kriti.
Thank you, ma'am.
Krati,
Yes,
who is
sir.
the first Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh?
Mr. G.B. Pant.
Full form?
Mr. Govind Vallabh Pant.
Okay. What are his contributions?
Sorry, sir, I'm not aware of the exact contribution, so I cannot comment on that.
Okay. Who's the first governor of UP?
It was Mr. Hormuz Shah Firoz Shah Modi.
Okay. Why he was so famous?
Sir, I'm not aware of the exact reason.
Who's the first lady Chief Minister of UP?
I think it was Mrs. Suchita Kripalani.
What is special about her?
So the exact special reason I might not be aware of.
Okay. And who's the first lady governor of UP?
Mrs. Sarojini Naidu.
What is special about her?
I know about her contributions in the freedom struggle. However, what led to the appointment of her as a governor is I'm not so particularly
Okay.
clear
What is
on.
contribution? Her contribution in freedom struggle?
She was one of the pioneer women contributors to movements like Quit India movement, and she was also an active member of INC.
Okay. And how many lady members were there in the Constituent Assembly?
Sorry, sir, I did not hear
How many
that.
women members were there in the Constituent Assembly?
Sorry, sir, I'm not aware of the exact number.
Okay. How many women ministers are there in the central cabinet nowadays?
There are two in the cabinet, I guess, Mrs. Smriti Irani and Mrs. Nirmala Sitaraman.
Only two women are there?
I'm not able to recall any more.
Okay. So do you believe that there are only two?
Sir, I'm not sure. As in, I'm not able to recall.
Why only two women are there if only two are there?
Sir, I think the political participation of women in general is very less. Even if we see the Legislative Assembly as a whole, only 14% women parliamentarians
So the
are
Prime
there.
Minister's appeal is not based on true facts, Sabka Saath and Sabka Vishwas. So he is not taking saath of women?
Sir, I think the Prime Minister and the government are trying their best to have more women in the parliament, but the cause that women are not reaching to that level is
How many women
multidimensional.
candidates were floated in the elections by the BJP?
Sir, I'm not aware of the exact number.
Okay, so how can say that they are taking all possible efforts to improve participation of women in parliament?
So my statement was based on the schemes that are run to empower the women, and maybe not directly, but then empowerment will lead to political participation. If women start educating themselves and participating in the economy, having, as in, if I can draw from my own personal experience, the issues that men deal with, they have not reached the courtyard yet. I mean, women topics like women.
So you are basically transferring the accountability on women themselves.
Women are accountable to some extent, and I would say let's not bring gender here because even men are accountable. However, women will have to come in front. Like, we cannot depend on men for women empowerment.
Okay, nice talking to you, Krati. Your interview
you,
is
sir.
over. You may go now.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Be seated.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Your interview is on 21st of September
Yes, sir.
and this is your third attempt. Is this the first time you are going for interview?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What happened in the previous two attempts?
Sir, this is my first means and my first interview. I was
Okay.
stuck at the prelim stage.
Okay, okay. That's good. So overall experience is good?
Sir, I think I was very nervous today, so
Okay, you
that could.
may remove your mask. Okay, initially you were a little nervous. Fine. That is natural. What else?
Apart from that, the last questions, like I knew about the names, but I did not know about the exact reason. So I could have researched that more. So
Okay, about UP.
yeah, about UP, the last few questions, and I'll have to build on the content a little more. Like, that's what I thought.
Fine. So you're left with 10 days and it's good enough time. See, overall, we are very happy with your performance, Krati.
Thank you, sir.
That means on most of the parameters, you are doing right things. Your entry is good. You greeted the board members well. Your sitting posture is good. Your overall, that is, presence is progressive. Your eye contact is stable, which we prescribe that rather than oscillating here and there, you should keep it stable. Your comprehension is good. You understand the core intention of the question right away. and you address the answers also in objective fashion. That's also good. Your flow of communication is very good, is much better than average. Your attitude is also good. That means overall you are having positive attitude, your communication flow is good, comprehension is good. So the basic parameters are well in advanced stage. That means better than average. And as UPSC has given its guideline that you should have a critical power of assimilation, you should have balance of judgment, and you should also be logical in expression. So that's there. That means expression is there. On balance of judgment part, it appeared that you are leaning in favor of the government, which is fine. That means there is nothing bad about it. But you know that you are a student of public PABAD, and
Yes, sir.
administrators are expected in democratic setup to be neutral politically.
Yes, sir.
So you have to make a criticism, and critical power of assimilation is also there. So you should be a little critical before making a judgment.
Okay, sir.
Make a critical examination in short, maybe 1 or 2 points, and then come to the conclusion.
Okay,
Rather
sir.
than
Noted.
flatly accepting or towing the government line, you may have a logical favor for that. That means you are having explanation to favor it.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
I get that.
And you may also entertain while that means if there is any question where your balance of judgment is required, you may also display that you are ready to listen to the other parties,
Okay, sir.
apparently the opposite parties,
Opposite
so that
to
you,
the
you
government
display that
stand.
democratic ethos.
Yes, sir.
That's also important as an attribute of your personality.
Yes, sir.
Because instead of expected to, you have to deal with different parties and different
Yes, sir,
party
I
workers.
understand. Yeah.
And apparently conflicting social groups and interest groups are there,
Yes, sir.
and they'll be competing to serve their interest, and you have to play neutral there. So that kind of display is expected. And you may also keep a little smiling. That means sometimes you are looking stressed,
Okay.
maybe you while thinking, but overall, as I said in the initial phase, overall representation is very good, and we are very hopeful that you are going to get very good marks
Thank you,
overall,
sir.
because your comprehension and that is communication, these two are very strong points in your presentation. And of course, you have noticed that you need to develop some more information about UP, including Bundelkhand.
Yes, sir.
On the Bundelkhand question, whether it should be carved out as a separate state or separated as a state. See, whenever this idea emerges, any idea emerges, you give it a sympathetic listening to, first of all. That may be a section of society is demanding it.
Yeah.
So you must show that you are listening it sympathetically, rather than abruptly rubbishing your side. So you may say that, okay, there are some people who believe that by creating a separate state, Bundelkhand would track faster on the development path. But there have been created Jharkhand, Uttarakhand, and the experience is not very pleasant about it. So then you can display your knowledge about administration, that whenever we have to create a state, we look at these parameters. We look at economic viability, we look at administrative convenience, we look at cultural homogeneity, etc. you are talking about.
Yes, sir.
And then you can come to whatever conclusions you want to draw. That I approve this demand or we disapprove this demand. But again, the point is that you should have a logical analysis.
Yes,
So as to display some democratic ethos. Rejecting it altogether is totalitarian in thought.
Yes, sir. I get that point.
Okay.
Yes, I'll work on that.
Okay. So rest of things are good, very good. And we hope and we wish you best of the luck.
Thank you, sir.
Any questions?
Sir, for the length of my answers, like I've been told before to cut it short. So was it appropriate this time?
See, once you are logical, it will become, I think, structured.
Okay.
At the moment, you have mentioned that you like speaking. So you are a public speaker. So that tone comes sometimes, that you're in a public speaking mode.
Yeah.
So I suggested
definitely
that make it more structured.
Okay. So if there is some controversial question that comes my way, so I'll address it, like start by giving in ki there is some criticism of the government on these lines, and then if I want to defend it, then I'll defend giving the evidence. Like that's how I should go.
You give your feeling in the second part.
Okay,
You accommodate the other feeling first.
Okay, sir.
Okay, all the best.
That makes it clear. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.